So we've been talking about hiring. It's one thing to hire women into these jobs, but how do you actually retain them? How do you build the culture, right, that enables them to grow and continue to blossom? Last year, the Mercury News featured a report that they had, or study they had done, that said that women climbing the ladder in Silicon Valley are actually climbing it at a much slower rate than men. But that's not what I'm hearing at Intuit. So what's the secret sauce about how you actually create an environment in which women can be successful? Nora, what's from the ground up? What's your view?
Well, I'd say there's probably three key things that make the environment a little different here at Intuit that fosters the diversity. First of all, we've married diversity with inclusion. So it's one thing, as Bill mentioned, to go out and say, get me the most diverse, best qualified, most diverse workforce you can, and we do that year round. But when you marry that with inclusion, you say, we're going to celebrate your differences, and we're going to make sure you're included. You're not just at the table, you're a member of the table, and we're going to celebrate your differences. So I think marrying it with inclusion is paramount, because if not, you'll stay a few weeks, maybe a few months, you'll feel left out, and you'll leave. The second thing is we have listening posts everywhere. And so whether it's a formal survey, questions and answers from the CEO, listening posts everywhere. We have a complete open door policy. So if there are problems, we understand them very quickly. And then the third thing that we've done is we've created employee networks. And these are employee-based networks that strengthen the fabric of our company. I think Bill started the first Intuit Women's Network, which now 14% of Intuit is on this network. And it allows you to hone your leadership skills, learn about different topics, and really reinforce that I belong to a group bigger than myself and bigger than the company, and I want to help in the community, help myself grow, and also help the company grow. So I think those three things, listening constantly, making sure you have a fabric that reinforces the diversity, and marrying diversity with inclusion, make us one of the more diverse companies.
And Bill, you know, a lot of companies try. They start these networks, and the network gets anointed, and someone gets put in charge, and they have a meeting, maybe two, and then people say, well, there was just no interest. So starting it is one thing, but how did you actually put the right leadership around it to actually have this grow and develop and become such the positive force that Nora spoke about?
Not a simple thing, but it had to be led by tenacious people that really cared about its excellence. We struggled with it at the beginning. You know, what did we want it to become? You know, in my day, you know, earlier days, you know, what I wanted to do is make sure that we eliminated all bias. You know, why should the guy be able to leave at 5 o'clock and go coach Little League, and the woman can't leave at 4:30 to go pick her kids up from daycare? And, you know, there's just those kinds of things, and we had to eliminate that. But over a period of time, and I think Nora can tell you this, that the strong leadership in the Intuit Women's Network really wanted to make sure that we cared a lot about how we were going to grow and develop our women, and make sure that they learned the skills and that they had the opportunity to acquire skills that were going to take them into senior positions inside the company. And then you have to have somebody like Brett Smith, a CEO of a company who cares so much about that and pays attention every day to the role of women in the organization. We spend as much time on our board evaluating the performance of our managers below the CEO level and one level below that, so that we're constantly looking at people who are ready to be moved up. And if we feel like there's some devotion that we have to do to improvement, we commit people to do that.
So Bill, you talked about even at the board level, spending time to support this overall effort. Well, one of the questions I have is it important to have diversity on the board? You know, you look out there, and we have other countries around the world, a lot in Europe, where they're actually setting standards and requirements for female representation. In the US, we seem to be much slower in our ability to build diversity on the board. Intuit has 2 women on the board. Most tech companies here in the Valley have none. You know, forget one, just have none. So, again, why is there success there? What do you think needs to happen?
When you start to look at number of college graduates, percent of women, now over 50%, you start to think about you know, women's influence on company culture, their ability to participate as an equal in any business discussion anywhere. Why wouldn't you want to have women everywhere? Now, you know, in Silicon Valley, you know, the number of engineers is quite low. The number of women engineers is quite low. So, you know, I feel like we have an opportunity to attract a high quality number of women. And if you take a look at Nora, or you take Ginny, or you take on our board Diane Green, you know, somebody who's been the founder of 4 companies, and, you know, just, you know, phenomenal scientist, technical person. Those kinds of people will attract young people, look at that and say, this is a company that gets it. We really do care about women's influence on how we think. And if you get a group of men just around the table, you don't have, look, not that women's perspectives are vastly different, but they're human, and we've got to make sure we're paying attention to that.
But I also wanted to echo Bill's thoughts on adding women to the board as well as women through your management ranks. We compete in an environment for consumers and small businesses, and we know that households, over 75%, the women control the spending. Right. So the women are our customers. They're a huge part of our customers, and we've learned through every study that the more diverse a team is, the better the decisions are.